10 graffiti myths debunked. Number 1. Technical is better. In graffiti lettering and painting, simple is better in just about every way you can apply that phrase. There are only so many ways that you can bend a letter before it is no longer readable. The thought process of technical being better is another misconceived stereotype from inside the world of graffiti. A well-known abstract futurism style graffiti can definitely be cool in its own subcategory, but there's an abundance of artists producing highly technical pieces that are so wild that technically begins to replace legibility, and it is a fine line between tasteful abstraction and hiding bad letter forms behind colours. The offending writers often become blinded by the excessive details they create, and they eventually lose focus of the actual art of graffiti lettering. It's interesting because in many cases there's technical styles that creates delusion and a warped sense of overall ability, causing the excessive technical artist to lose track of or never gain universal simple good versus bad design principles. Technical spray painting skills can be and are often to create amazing graffiti artwork, but as with anything else, moderation is key. Number 2, you can spot a graffiti writer when you see one. Graffiti does not have a dress code, and not all writers are cut from the same cloth. Typically, stereotypes of how to spot a graffiti writer include wearing baggy clothing, wearing hoodies, baseball caps, backpacks. Even within graffiti, there are stereotypes. You can always identify a writer by the paint splots on their shoes or their clothes. That theory goes out the window, of course, if the observed individual happens to be a house painter or even a regular artist, which are two professions that share within graffiti writers and the woes of paint-stained wardrobes. Number 3. Graffiti originates from hip-hop. Graffiti and hip-hop culture became associated with one another after an early graffiti artist who were active in elements of the hip-hop culture explained graffiti as the visual expression of rap music. The films Wild Style and Style Wars cemented graffiti as a part of the hip-hop culture that was delivered to the world in the early 1980s. Graffiti has stereotypically been the official art of hip-hop ever since. Graffiti writing is considerably older than hip-hop, and for most graffiti writers, rap is just one of the many types of music that provide a soundtrack to riding the graffiti lifestyle roller coaster. Punk, rock, electro, and almost every other genre of music that can be individually classified have shared periods of time associated with graffiti. But at the end of the day, graffiti did not originate from hip-hop. Number 4. Graffiti always happens between 1 and 4 AM. Every cop and assuming citizens believe this to be 100% true, and writers do find that the cover of darkness can be very useful for many applications. However, almost all legal and chill spots of graffiti and a huge portion of illegal graffiti is boldly performed during the daylight hours. In many American cities, curfew laws prohibit minors from being out until 1 AM. Obviously, the teenage writers who make up a large portion of the in-your-face that happens are rule breakers by nature. But on an average night, by 1 o'clock in the morning, 80% of writers have already settled down for the night, at least as far as painting graffiti is concerned. Number 5. Just because it's spray paint doesn't mean it's tagging. As an artist, you can go outside, and if you have the technical ability, you can paint super scaled Rembrandt caliper art with underlying promotions of world peace. The plan can include all the proceeds going to the local orphanage and not have any political affiliations whatsoever. But if regular citizens see you using spray paint to create your artwork, it is automatically becomes tagging, because obviously anything created with spray paint can is pure evil, and the general public has been taught to immediately acknowledge that someone with can of paint is the word tagger, and is commonly used with the intention of defaming writers. And it describes the form of delinquents who will either rapidly move to the next fad and quit the subculture, or will soon become an actual graffiti writer. Number 6. Graffiti writers love to write on or destroy everything. How would you like it if I spray painted your house? Asks a 7 out of 10 officers. Sure, some people just want to see the world burn, and most graffiti writers employ the same tagline, cover the earth. However, writing on and destroying everything is just a harsh generalization and makes graffiti writing sound like an insane cult. Established graffiti artists who have made a name for themselves destroying urban landscapes all across the world have well-maintained lives in homes and even earthly possessions. They privately curate art and store shoe collections amongst other things, some of which could afford a college tuition. These are primarily family men that we are talking about here, with the majority of the people that are around them either not knowing that they do graffiti or just not really paying mind to the fact that they are a graffiti writer. Does the average young thrill-seeking writer want to initially create as much damage as possible? Yes, absolutely. However, somewhere along the line, they generally concede to be weekend warriors who chase the good life with most of their time, like almost everyone else. Number 7. I bet graffiti writers love to get high off the paint fume. Just because someone chooses to write graffiti definitely does not mean that all graffiti writers like getting high off the toxic fumes of spray paint. Spray paint smells pretty bad, the same to a writer as it does everyone else. To tie graffiti artists and huffing together in graffiti is not exactly correct. Number 8. All graffiti artists are graphic designers and tattoo artists. You should do tattoos. Or can you design something for me? While working outdoors and being subject to the original douchebag, graffiti practitioners are constantly being asked by civilian people to design something for a tattoo or for a logo. Some writers do happen to claim these professions and are amazing in their fields, but most graffiti writers just have a regular job, and very few people who regularly spray outdoors on surfaces are considered truly good leading designers. The fact is that most writers never pursue any professions like these. It is also assumed that graffiti artists naturally transition into great tattoo artists, which is the perfect assumption to make to get a really bad piece of non-art scarred on your body forever. Number 9. The creed and race of a graffiti writer. Since well before the year 2012, graffiti was and is present on 7 continents, even in Antarctica. Every city, state, and country in every inhabitable geographical point on this earth has graffiti to some extent. Yet despite the clear writing on the wall, many conservatives still believe that graffiti is the practice of poor non-white minorities, or at best the work of college equivalent pranksters. The fact is, graffiti is absolutely not able to be discriminate of race, sex, or creed to the top of the upper class, and in every demographic between enjoying leaving their mark on society every now and again. And number 10. Graffiti was invented in New York City. Graffiti as signature or tags as we know it today started to appear in Philadelphia in the late 1960s. Earlier in the 60s, graffiti was made by political activists. Since the 1950s, street gangs have used graffiti for marking territorial borderlines. Getting a common name signature up goes at least as far as back as the 1940s, during World War II, when Kilroy was here, started popping up all across the country and even overseas. It's just a common misbelief that graffiti derived from New York City, because in the beginning in New York, trains were the main canvas for most graffiti writers. New York City had an abundance of trains and they had bigger crime problems to deal with at that time. So when the graffiti epidemic exploded seemingly overnight, it brought a lot of attention to the Big Apple, and in the 40+ years since, graffiti has rarely looked back. There you go, guys, another longer video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you watched it to the end. If you watched this video to the end, leave a little comment saying water bottle, just to let me know that you actively watched it till the end. I very much appreciate it. Have a great day and have a good one. I've got to tell you guys about Blank Slaps. They have heaps of options to choose from in terms of eggshell designs, and they also supply a variety of graffiti supplies. Blank Slaps have set up the YOUFO army with a permanent discount code. So if you guys see anything you like on blankslaps.com, be sure to use the code YOUFO at checkout to secure a sweet discount for your order. And I really do appreciate that. Link is in the description below.